Hello guys, welcome to another Thyalwaysseek live stream. Today's topic is a very relevant one because of course we're coming up to Easter now, and so I thought that we would delve into the meanings behind the symbolism of Easter, because there is just so much disinformation about Easter from both sides, from the New Ages and the religious, as I was going to call them, religiotards and New Age tards, because really these people are ignorant. They do no research of their own. They literally just regurgitate and repeat whatever sounds good to them. And so we have this constant bickering amongst each of the sides about what Easter represents. And so we have one side, the religiotards, the modern Christians, who all claim Jesus. Easter is about what their clergy have told them Easter is about, and they really are clueless. They really have no clue at all. Then we have the New Agers who insist that Easter has pagan roots, and Christianity has stolen Easter from the pagans. And so I just want to make this clear before we go ahead with this stream, and I will repeat this throughout the stream as more people join the stream. But literally, pagans just mean somebody that isn't attached to a organized religion. So it doesn't mean that the pagans were actually polytheists, okay? This is the same confusion that we have around the ancient Greeks and the ancient Egyptians and the Hindu, who are basically accused of being polytheists, and they believe in multiple gods. And this isn't true, because if you actually go and do the research, and we know that most people don't go and do the research, you will find that they all had a prime creator. And the gods are literally representing the divine humans, just like we have Jesus and the apostles representing divine humans. And are we accusing modern Christians of being polytheists? No, we don't. So this is where the confusion actually starts, is with pagans being accused of being polytheists and not actually having a prime creator. And they actually did have a prime creator. What happened was, when the Catholic Church went on their rampage around the planet, basically destroying and pillaging each of the cultures and stealing their knowledge, anyone who wouldn't agree with Catholic canon, literally the interpretation that the Catholics approved of the scriptures, were accused of being a heretic or a pagan. And so when we say that Easter has pagan roots, Christianity has pagan roots, because all knowledge comes from a single source. Okay, it's not fragmented. All right, we are all from the same creator. Okay, so when Christians hate on Muslims, and Christians hate on Hindu and all of the other religions around the world, because they're arrogant and full of hubris, and they think that they are the chosen ones, literally, they're literally belittling the creator, because the creator, the prime creator, the all, God the Father, however you want to view the creator, created everything. Everything. And that is every race, every religion. And so what happens is divine revelation is literally relayed culturally. And this is why we all have our own way of understanding divine knowledge. And we express divine knowledge our own way also. And we're going to see that the symbolism of the differences within the divine race is also present in Easter. And we are all different, and I've said this before many times, that if you look at the creator as though he himself, and I say he, and I always put a disclaimer in regards to how I address the Prime Creator, because I like to see the Prime Creator as a fatherly figure. However, the Prime Creator is androgynous. So if you would like to see the Prime Creator as a female, then that is completely okay. There is no correct way to view your Creator other than to acknowledge that you do have a Creator who has created your soul and your material form, and you are part of his design, and you are part of the Creator. You know, the Hermetics, those who followed Hermetic science viewed the Creator as the all. And so if that's how you prefer to see the Creator, then so be it. Everyone has their own personal preference, and that's completely okay, because everyone is allowed to express the knowledge through their own lenses, their own personal way of, you know, the way they feel that the knowledge aligns best with them. There are only certain truths, okay? Truth doesn't change. You know how people say, oh, everyone has their own truth? Well, that's just bullshit, okay? Because there is only one truth, okay? And truth doesn't change. It's the perception of truth that changes. So you can perceive truth in your own way, but it doesn't change the truth. So if you know that the Creator is androgynous, that's the truth. If you want to see the Creator as female, that's the truth. It's just your perception of the truth. It doesn't change the truth that the Creator is androgynous. So even when I refer to the Creator as he, my personal preference, it doesn't change the fact that the Creator is androgynous, and pretty much the Creator is above the intellect and ability of the human mind to actually understand in full. So we do the best we can with our puny little human brain to try and understand our Creator. It's like an ant trying to understand a human and the human life. You know, it's literally that fractal. So, you know, we just have to humble ourselves and understand we'll never really know everything, but we can try and clarify and understand to the best of our ability our Creator and our spiritual side, because we are two natures. We are a physical nature, but we're also first and foremost souls, and that is the most important part of who we are. And we have to identify our souls as our true self. And until we do that, we are literally trapped in materialism. So again, I have explained this in previous live streams, that when we are trapped in materialism, sorry guys, I've got a bit of a head cold as well today, so if you hear me sniffling a bit and clearing my throat and whatever, it's because I have got a little bit of a head cold. But I have got myself on cold and flu tablets, so I should be good. So yeah, so basically yes, one God, the Father of the Messiah, one woman, one man. I'm not sure what that means, but just a quick heads up in regards to the rules of the live stream is we don't want to just start chattering on with opinion. Okay, we do have moderators, and if you just start chattering on with your opinion, which is most likely in ignorance if you're just finding this live stream and you haven't actually taken the time to go and look at my decade of study into theology, mythology, symbolism, Kabbalah, Hermetic science. If you haven't taken the time to go and look at my studies, but then you think that you have the right to just descend on my live stream and chatter with your opinion, I find that highly disrespectful. And I suggest that if you were someone that spent a decade of research into a subject and then had people come and give you opinion who hadn't done that research, that you would find that disrespectful as well. So, you know, everyone is entitled to their own opinion and beliefs. Okay, God gifted you free will to have your own opinion and beliefs, but that doesn't mean that you have the right to trip up others if you haven't actually gone and taken the time to do the research. So, Tyson 48, I probably have read the Bible and understand the Bible more than you do, mate, okay? Because I've actually not only read the Bible, I've read the Quran, I've read the Hindu texts, I've read the Hermetic texts, I've read the texts of the ancient philosophers, I've read the Gnostic texts, I've read the Colburn Bible. Have you? Or are you so arrogant that you think you can fit your creator into one book? Are you so naive that you think the Catholic Church hasn't edited and omitted information from your Bible over the last 800 years, that they have had possession of your Bible, that they have decided what books went into your Bible? You do understand that, don't you, modern Christians? You do understand that the Catholics have had possession of your scriptures for 800 years. You do understand it during the 1600s that the Catholic Church would literally burn you at the stake if you read your Bible in English or tried to translate your Bible in English. Do they sound like the actions of godly men and godly souls? And you think that these godly men who were literally burning people at the stake, torturing people in dungeons, literally slaughtered 1 million Cathars, the Gnostics, you think these men can be trusted with those scriptures and not to make any edits and changes to your scriptures? Because I'm telling you, Tyson 48, that if you are that naive, then you really are not deserving of truth. And you are really not deserving of this knowledge. And it's probably why you are going to remain ignorant until you start to realize that your clergy are not giving you the truth. They are literally just giving you the information that is aligned with what the upper level clergy are allowing them to tell you, which is why none of your modern clergy are talking about revelation, and that's all they should be talking about in these times, because we are living revelation right now. But anyway, let's not get sidetracked. Those are the rules of the stream. I do not want to have to deal with people giving their opinion. If you will be warned once, literally, if you continue to give your opinion, and then you will be removed from the live stream. And if people want to accuse me of censorship, so be it. I'm happy to wear that. Okay, you can all accuse me of censorship. I literally will not allow those with ignorant opinions to ensnare others into all the white noise that we literally have to navigate in these times, because there is just so much ignorance, so much opinion and white noise. We're literally the Tower of Babel right now. Nobody wants to listen to anybody else, and nobody wants to really go and do the work and do the research so that they can discover truth for themselves. People are quite mentally lazy in these times. Nobody wants to actually go and do the work. My recommendation to everybody here is go and seek out confirmation of what I'm relaying here in the actual texts. I don't want to hear your opinion about what you think I'm saying or what you believe about what I'm saying, or if I'm wrong. I want you to go and actually find me some knowledge in some texts, some ancient texts, okay? Nothing that a New Age guru has written. I don't want anything like that, but go back to the original ancient texts and provide me with the texts that support your opinion or your belief, and then we'll discuss and I will look at it, because hey, we're all about the truth. Okay, we're all about the truth. And wow, still going on. Turn off comments. Jodine, I am not here to pander to what you like or want me to behave like. If I feel like going on about this for half an hour, I will go on about this for half an hour. If you don't like that, you're in the wrong place, okay? And you can just leave at any moment, all right? So I'm here to set the ground rules especially to modern Christians and New Agers. All right. And yes, I do tend to tangent on, and sometimes I do tend to go on. So you'll just have to put up with that, because it is what it is, isn't it? So where I was going with all of this about the pagans. So all of these accusations that, you know, the New Age community come out with, and they say that Christianity has stolen these symbols from paganism. Everything is paganism. Okay, everything is paganism. Because I'll read you a couple of quotes, and hopefully it'll give you an understanding of how all truths come from the same source. So, you know, we don't have just one section of the community, like the Christians, modern Christians. Ronnie, can you please remove Tyston 48? I'm not going to get sidetracked by bickering with this ignorant person. He has his truths, and he literally has just read one book, and then he thinks that he is going to be able to interpret the Bible, the scriptures. So anyone who thinks, and I'm just going to say this, and then I'm going to move on, okay? And I'm not going to revisit this again. Anybody who thinks that you can read the Bible and understand the Bible just by reading the scriptures, just in that book, and without understanding symbolism, without reading any other holy scriptures, without reading any other esoteric information, I suggest you go and read verse Mark 11:12, and continue to read that verse and contemplate on that verse until you understand it. The Bible is an occulted work. I will repeat that. The Bible is an occulted work. If you do not understand all of the esoteric tools, all of the other esoteric subjects, you will never understand the Bible. And if you think that you can just rock up to church every Sunday and listen to your clergy tell you what to believe, you really don't deserve to have the truth. And you really do deserve that wide path to destruction that you're currently walking down. So I would suggest that anyone who wants to understand the Bible go out and actually start researching into other knowledge as well. Just like Jesus instructed, seek and ye shall find. Jesus never said seek only with the clergy. Okay, and this is the problem that we have in these times when we're in the Tower of Babel, okay, and everyone is so sure of themselves because they've got the truth, yet, you know, I can tell you every single person that says to me that they have their own truth and they have their truth, I can go and look at their channel right now. You can go and click on their link. Go and look at their channel. Show me their decade of research. Show me their decade of research and their 800 videos of piecing all of this knowledge back together cross-culture, using all of the ancient scriptures, not just the Bible, using symbolism, Kabbalah, Hermetics. Because I've done that, and I'm not speaking in arrogance or trying to be in my ego here. I'm just relaying the facts. So I find it really disrespectful that these people come onto my live stream and then actually, instead of listening to what I have to reveal to them due to all of the study that I've done, I mean, you'd think that they'd want to know what my studies have uncovered, but no, they just want to natter and chatter about their own beliefs. And this is because, okay, most people have already decided what their belief and what their truth is going to be. And so they don't really want truth. They don't really want knowledge. They just want others to back up and prop up what they've already decided the truth is. And that's not what you're going to find here. And that's why you will never see that there are a lot of people on my streams, because most people don't want truth. They just want information that's going to prop up their current beliefs, what they want the truth to be. And so this live stream is actual for true students of the teachings, true students of the scriptures, true followers of Christ's teachings. And they are the few. And that is why the path to life is narrow. and few there be that find it, because the many just want to go and listen to what sounds good. Right, so let's go back to why I am saying that everything was pagan in origin, all right? And so this whole discussion between who has the truth between the New Age and the Christians, modern Christians, is ridiculous. So let's start with Paracelsus, my favorite, and it's actually the little quote that I have on my channel, because I think it encompasses everything that I actually have done over the last decade. It's actually 12 years if I'm going to be, pedantic. All numbers are multiples of one. All sciences converge to a common point. All wisdom comes out of one center, and the number of wisdom is one. And that is Paracelsus. And so what we've seen now in these lower ages, because we are in the Iron Age of ignorance, is that everything has been fragmented. And then people have literally grasped onto a fragment and then proceeded to assume that they have the full picture when they've only just grasped onto one fragment. And then that fragment is usually just what those who have taken possession of that fragment have told them that the fragment is about. So literally, like, Christians just believe that Christianity is about Jesus. They literally worship the Son as equal to the Father, and they are completely ignorant to the truth because they look to their clergy as their gods. And then we have the Muslims, and they've literally done the same thing. And even Muhammad said in the last days that there would be corruption in the clergy, and the clergy have literally encouraged them to go and make a pilgrimage every year to circle a meteorite and touch and kiss a meteorite and worship a meteorite. So literally engaging in idolatry. And so all of their efforts to not have a likeness of Muhammad, you know how it's forbidden in Islam to have any likeness of Muhammad, has all been for naught, because they've literally gone and fallen for the clergy's tricks, and they have been encouraged to go and indulge in idolatry by going and visiting the Kaaba every year and worshipping the meteorite, the stone in the Kaaba. And so even when we look to the pilgrimage that they're making, it's not actually in the Quran. So a lot of times people will give me verses from Islam, but they're from hadiths. And so you've got to understand that a hadith is not the Quran. A hadith is literally like if one of our clergy, one of our modern cardinals, okay, say that one of the cardinals within the Catholic Church went and wrote scriptures and included it in the Bible. That's literally what a hadith is. So ignore the hadiths. The hadiths are not part of the Quran and are literally a way that the Muslims can be taken down a false path. And we see this with the Hindu. The Hindu no longer understand that the gods are just representing their divine, literally like their Jesus, their Christed. And so they just worship all the gods and goddesses to their liking. You know, I like this god over here, I'm going to worship him. I like this goddess over here, I'm going to worship her. They have literally taken idolatry down to the worst level. I mean, they really have lost their way, the Hindu. And it's sad because their literature is beautiful. When you understand the Hindu divine revelation, the way that they have expressed the divine knowledge, it really is a beautiful, beautiful scriptures. But unfortunately, they are also very lost, and their higher level clergy and, you know, their religious leaders have been corrupted too, and are encouraging them into this idolatry. So it's really horrible to see that people have just handed their minds and souls and their salvation over to their clergy, and they've all done it. And so when you see this argument between Christians and the New Age about Easter, just laugh about it, because really it is all paganism. It is all the same knowledge that's just been expressed differently. So that one was from Paracelsus. And then I've got one from Manly P. Hall, and he says, all the great world religions, though divided by the superficial differences of their exoteric creeds, unite in their esoteric knowledge. It is this secret doctrine which all the faiths of the world share in common that interests all sincere students of religion. The quest of essential wisdom is the great work of life. And that's the other very important aspect of understanding esoteric knowledge and divine knowledge, is that you have to dedicate yourself completely to it. You can't just do it part-time. You can't just say, oh, I've got an hour before I go to work, I'm just going to have a quick look at this video, oh, I'm just going to look at this before I go to bed. You have to dedicate yourself to discovering the truth, because look, universal mind knows you. It knows your mind, your heart, and your soul, okay? And if you are not motivated by true intent of finding the truth, if that is not your motivation in life, is to discover truth, if it's just to fit it in between worldliness, materialism, then you're not worthy of knowledge, and the veil will never be lifted from your eyes. I mean, you'll only ever see this as a novelty. Most of it will go way over your head. You won't actually grasp it at the level that it needs to be understood. And so it's really probably not really worth you listening to these live streams or looking at this knowledge. It's really not going to benefit you if you don't actually dedicate yourself to understanding this knowledge on a very deep level. And that's why I always say, do not just listen to what I tell you in these live streams or in my other research videos. You must actually go and search out this information for yourself from the ancient texts. And I have many links on my website. I've got an actual resource page where I show all of the different links to the actual texts, you know, the ancient texts. And also in our MeWe group, you will find a link underneath the video, Keepers of the Flame. We've also got a library, and we're always adding new texts as we find them, but they are the ancient texts, and they are not the texts that have been reinterpreted for us by modern clergy or modern New Agers to tell us what to believe about. You have to go back and use your own intellect, and you have to do this cross-culture, and you have to study symbolism and study Hermetic sciences and the Kabbalah, and that will then begin to allow you to see the patterns, see the reoccurring themes across culture. And these are the truths. These are the core truths, the core tenets that we must understand. And then when we've grasped these, you know, core truths, we can start to then see them reoccurring in all of the ancient mythologies and the legends and the stories and the parables. And you can actually read scriptures and understand it in the way it was written, just how Jesus says in Mark 11:12, when he talks about why the Bible is occulted, and how most people will be, you know, ever seeing but never perceiving, ever hearing but never understanding. And do not be one of those people, because 99%, if not 100% of modern Christians are those people who will never be understanding of the truths in their Bible. And that is because they are mentally and spiritually lazy. So don't be one of those people. Go and seek out knowledge. Go and reaffirm it constantly until it becomes, you know, a deep, deep knowing down to the very core of who you are. And then when you understand that at that level, you will actually experience gnosis, and you will experience a paradigm shift and understand fully and completely who you are. And then you will have no fear of death. And when you have no fear of death of your physical container, because you understand that you are a soul, then they have no power over you. Those who are basically in control of our world right now, the evil that has taken control of our churches, of our religions, of our governments, of our media, of our education institutes, of our science institutes, of our medical institutions. They've all been infiltrated and co-opted by the evil that is in control of our world. And once you understand yourself on a very deep level and you understand you are a soul, you will have no fear of death, and then they will have no control over you anymore. No power. You will take your power back fully. Right, the next one is from the Zohar, and that one is, doctrine are its cloak. The simple look only at the garment that is upon the narrative of the doctrine. More they know not. The instructed, however, see not merely the cloak, but what the cloak covers. And that is from the Zohar. Then from Eliphas Levi, all religions and all sciences connect themselves with one single science, always hidden from the common herd and transmitted from age to age, from initiate to initiate, beneath the veil of fables and symbols. It preserves for a world yet to come the secrets of a world that has passed away. And finally, this one is from the Turba Philosophorium, Hermes Trismegistus. O all ye seekers after this art, ye can reach no useful result without a patient, laborious, and solicitous soul, persevering courage, and continuous regime. He, therefore, who is willing to persevere in this disposition and would enjoy the result, may enter upon it. But he who desires to learn over speedily must not have recourse to our books, for they impose great labour before they are read in the higher sense, once, twice, or thrice. So basically just reiterating what I have said, that this knowledge is for the worthy, and if you are only just seeing this as a curiosity and a novelty, then you really will never understand this knowledge to the level that you need to understand it to experience gnosis or to experience enlightenment. And to experience illumination. I mean, these are all words that the New Age community love to throw around, but very rarely do any New Agers ever go and seek further than what they listen to on some popular channel or some popular New Age guru that is telling them these platitudes that they just love to listen to. And it's normally encouraging spiritual apathy, because the New Age community has been infiltrated just like the modern Christian organization and all of the other religions as well. All right, so now that we've kind of had that introduction and we understand that the pagans and the Christians are literally just arguing about the same thing, they're all as ignorant and, you know, pretty much as lost as each other. They are all as spiritually apathetic as each other. Now that we understand that all truths are from a single source, so all divine revelation comes from a single source, it's just fragmented and then basically relayed culturally and expressed culturally through different myths, different parables, different stories, but you will see that there is archetypal symbolism. Now, archetypal symbolism is the way that the divine mind speaks to us on a level that we can understand through symbols, and that is why you will often see symbols repeat throughout various cultures. And then you will see that the experts, the establishment experts, you know, they all say like, yes, we're quite puzzled to how this culture over here actually has the same symbols as the culture over there, because, well, we know that they didn't discover that country till, you know, such and such a date, and we know they had no, you know, and we're now seeing more and more of these lies of the establishment education system, because they're starting to find artifacts that don't actually fit within the narrative. And so it is just naive to think that in ancient times the ancients weren't actually traversing the globe. Okay, but what happened is we had many centuries of a dark age as we moved into the Iron Age, and the Catholics helped along with this when they literally went around on their rampage destroying everything that was connected to the divine, and then they literally got to rewrite history. And so what we're actually living now is their version of history and their version of reality. And because so many people have been tricked into believing that this is the version of reality, that this is the truth, as a collective, we're all dragged down that false path as well. So it's up to each soul, each individual soul, to have the courage to remove themselves from that wide path to destruction. And I often like to see it as the river, that's, you're floating down the river and there's all these dead fish that are floating down the river, and you're the only fish that's not, you're alive and you're floating against the stream, because literally the people around us, and it is quite sad, are empty. Okay, they're empty. They're literally lost. And you should pity them, because they have handed themselves over to the devil, literally. And when I say devil, I don't mean entity, and I have explained this in previous live streams, that the devil is literally a symbol of materialism. So if you are in the grasp of the devil, and modern Christians are in the grasp of the devil, you are engaging and basically indulging in worldliness. And that means you see the world as real. And when I say the world, I mean the created reality that they have provided for us, where you go to college and you get a degree and you go get a job and then you go buy a house and you marry and you have children and then you celebrate the certain dates that they've given us to celebrate, and you have, your weekends to go and indulge in, partying or going out to dinner. That's worldliness, and that's a fake reality that you're living. And so you have to extract yourself from that. And it's not easy. It is a very lonely path, which is why it's the hermit's path. But the rewards come later. And you have to trust in yourself and in that path. And that is your test as a soul in these times, because we're all being tested. Ever heard of the saying, given enough rope to hang yourself? Because that's literally what mankind have been given right now, including modern Christians and New Agers. Just given enough rope to hang themselves, because it's their choice. Ignorance is a choice. I'm no great intellect. Okay, and I struggled with maths at school. It was not my greatest subject, believe me. I was a very average student at school. I was definitely not in the top percentile when it came to excelling in my schooling. And so if I can actually put all of this knowledge back together, all of these fragments, if I can spend the time, and yes, granted, it did take me full time about 5-6 years, and luckily I did have the opportunity, because I had an online business and I did have the opportunity to stay home and dedicate so much of my time to these studies. But I was able to do it, and that means everybody can do it. If I can do it, others can do it. And you know what? I've done most of the legwork. Okay, so you don't have to do a lot of what I did, because I was starting literally from scratch. And I did have the help of other researchers, because back in 2011, and I've said this before and I'll say it again, I do believe there was an awakening. There was a surge of light or something, and, manna, however people want to see it, Christ light, Holy Spirit. This is what we're doing. They're moving back into a time of heightened consciousness, and I do think we have that in surges at certain times, and I think 2011 was one of those times, because there were a lot of us that just suddenly had this real interest in discovering truth and looking into this knowledge. And so I had help as well, with other researchers. We kind of helped each other connect a lot of the dots. And so I literally just went from there and then just continued on. And here I am today, still piecing a lot of the pieces of the puzzle back together. I've pretty much got a good idea of the picture, and now I'm looking in more the spiritual realm. So I'm now starting to study angels and all of that information in regarding the ethereal plane, because there are two planes of existence, the ethereal plane and the physical plane. And so now I'm moving into that area of research, and as I get more information and I get a handle of it, I will start to bring more of this knowledge to you guys. But I really do like to know what I'm talking about before I actually start speaking about anything, because I don't like to speak about anything that I don't feel I have a full understanding of. So anybody can do what I've done, guys. It just takes effort. It just takes effort, motivation to find the truth and to trust in your own God-gifted intellect. But if you're here, if you've already found this channel and this knowledge and you've already got an interest in the esoteric, then don't allow the New Age to push you down a false path, because it's very attractive to just give up your mind and your soul over to somebody else that sounds like they know what they're talking about, or they appear to be very knowledgeable. They've got a very popular channel. They've got everybody, like Greg Braden. Okay, that is one person I can just talk straight off the top of my head, and I know that he is an operative. Okay, he is controlled opposition. Greg Braden is just telling you what you want to hear. He's very active lately again. I find that interesting. And he tells you a lot of half-truths. Okay, so there's a lot of truth in the information and the knowledge that he relays. That's how controlled opposition works. But then he poisons the well as well with lots of incorrect opinion and lots of falsehoods. So why listen to Greg Braden when you've got your own brain, you've got your own intellect? Just go back to the texts for themselves. Okay, and then you don't have to fall into these snares that have been put down for us by those who are in control of our world right now, because they have co-opted and infiltrated every single part of our society, and that's including the New Age community. All right, so okay, we've had a good introduction now. Let's get into the symbolism of Easter. And you can see that I have my slideshow here of all of the different symbols relating to Easter. And some of them you'll probably question and like, well, what has that got to do with Easter? And well, now that we start looking into this information, you will start seeing how Easter is a very important celebration, because it's actually representing the creation of the divine race. And the divine race, as we've discovered in previous live streams, when mankind were created, we are created in degrees of divinity. The firstborn divine male is known symbolically as Jesus in the Christian religion, but he is also known as Ra, he is known as Shiva, Thor, Apollo, Dionysus, Mars, many different, Krishna. There are many different symbols for the firstborn divine male. And so there are 288 individual souls in the divine race, and those souls represent the 4 different races. So we've got the white race, which is represented by the eagle, the tribe of Dan, the creature, the eagle, the tribe of Dan, the Teutha de Danann, it's represented by the sword, King Nuada, Queen Danu in the Christian religion, it's Jesus and Mary Magdalene. So they are the first divinely created Messiah tribe. Okay, and then we have the next is the tribe of Reuben, and they are the red race, and they are represented by the winged man, They are represented by, in the Thyalwaysseek, by the, I don't have it all down, but I have got diagrams up there. I'm not up to my, I should know my symbolism within the Thyalwaysseek more than I do. I kind of do know the tribes of Israel because that's where I started. And so you will see the symbols. So the tribe of Judah, the tribe of Ephraim is next. So it goes white race, red race, yellow race, black race. Okay, that is the order of creation of each of the Messiah tribes. And each Messiah tribe has a male and a female. And then from those Messiah tribes, we have the extension of the other divine souls who are also born as divine tribes. Each of us are created whole as a male and female soul, and we separate into male and female to be birthed into a male and female physical body. And that is every single soul, whether it be divine or mortal, each of us are created in that way. Now, the divine are created a little differently by degree because everything is in degrees, as we know, from higher to lower. Principle of correspondence and also principle of polarity is here at play when we look to the laws, the universal laws, hermetic laws of the universe, okay? And that's a very important subject that everybody should have a full grasp of if you want to go and seek out this knowledge in more depth and have a better understanding for it. You must understand the 7 principles of universal law, hermetic principles. Hermetic science is the most ancient science. It is the true science. And so this is why we find now a lot of the discoveries that modern science is making is actually hermetic science. Like the mental universe, they're now saying, oh, we live in a simulation. Well, hello, that's the principle of mentalism. Okay, so it's already, Anyway, I don't want to get tangenting off into that. I just want to describe the divine race so that you have an idea of the symbols that I'm about to speak about in relation to Easter. So we understand that there are divine fragments. Each of us contain a portion of divinity within ourselves. Okay, we all have a portion of divinity within ourselves, depending on our order of creation. Those created closest to divine source, to the all, to God, are divine. And there are 288 divine portions, divine souls. And then from those divine souls are the extension of mortal man. And that is why you have divine man and mortal man. And that is why you will see in the texts, in the ancient texts, they speak of divine man and mortal man. Why don't the clergy ever describe that? Why don't the clergy ever discuss what a mortal man is and what a divine man is? Why doesn't anybody ever talk about that? Because they don't want you to know that. They don't want you to know that knowledge. And so each of us has a portion of divinity within us, and it is all in regards to our order of birth as to whether we are divine or not. In the lower ages, nobody knows who is divine and who is mortal because these things are not revealed in the Iron Age because we are very, very encompassed in matter. We are in a very material age in the Iron Age. In the Golden Age and the Silver Age, we understand who the divine are, who the gods are, because they are illuminated. They literally look different to a mortal man. They are bigger in stature and they literally illuminate. And so we understand who the gods are. And then we understand that there is a creator because they are literally the extension of the creator in the physical form. In these times where we're all similar, and nobody knows the difference between who a divine person is and who a physical person is, then God has withdrawn from the physical plane. That is how you can see it. The tide of ether has gone out and we no longer understand ourselves. It is very easy for us to turn our backs on God, and this is what you call the great falling away. because materialism becomes very attractive. And this is when the devil takes control, you know, materialism. Satan takes control, and Satan is literally materialism, because we no longer trust in that spiritual side of ourselves. We no longer understand that we do have a divine portion within us. And that is another thing you will never see the clergy explain to their congregation. They will never talk about how the Christ is within and that we carry a portion of divinity within ourselves, because they don't want us to have any power. The clergy do not want their congregation to have any self-realized power. And so they won't talk about those verses. And when you literally do bring this up with a modern Christian about how they have the Christ within, they literally accuse you of heresy, even though it's in their scriptures, even though it's in their Bible. So they are just so brainwashed that they don't even acknowledge their own inner divinity, this gift from the Creator, because they are part of the Creator. And actually, this is what I was going to tell you before, and I must have gone on a tangent about how we can see God as this full man, okay, or this full person. Say that we lay him down across the surface of the world, and then we divide him up. And so the head is one part of him, his legs are another part, his one part of his body, his torso and arm is one part, and his other arm and torso is his other part. And we can see each of the races represent each of those parts, okay, each of those fragments. They all come together to create God on the physical form. So it's all part of the whole. You know, every fragment creates the whole. And so we are literally all fragments, okay, humanity, even the extension of the divine is part of God, okay. So humans are an extension of God as well. And the statue of Daniel, the statue of Daniel is another way of looking at this. We can see the different levels, because the divine race is also in degrees. You have your gold, you have your silver, and you have your bronze. Your gold are the firstborn of the divine race, your silver are the second degree, and then the third, the bronze, are the demigods. And so the demigods are literally seated in their mother's womb upon creation from the divine mind, from God the All, from God the Father. So look at Mary, the Virgin Mary. Okay, it's a good symbol because she's a virgin, right? Why is she a virgin? Isn't that weird? How did that happen? Immaculate conception. I don't understand that symbolism. It's pretty easy to understand. When Mary, the divine female, was created from God the Father, she already was seated with the demigod in her womb. And so when she was created on the physical plane, she had a physical birth of the God that was already seated within her. So he is the link between the gods and mortal man. So see how it works in a chain of degrees? And that's literally how you see universal design. And so once you understand that, all of these symbols suddenly start to make sense. You know, when the clergy try to explain how, you know, how the Virgin Mary was, you know, impregnated in this, and they literally take the parables literally. They literally take the parables literally. Okay, parables are not meant to be taken literally. They're parables, they're stories. They encode these hidden truths so that the worthy, those that have gone out and done the work and actually sought out the knowledge, can understand them on the level that they should be understood. Whereas those who are simple-minded, shallow thinkers, lack courage, spiritually and mentally apathetic, they will only ever read the stories and parables and then try to understand them as a parable. It's ridiculous, really, when you understand what the parables are actually relating to. So now that we understand that there is a divine race, there are 288 divine fragments within humanity, and all of these divine fragments make up the whole, and this is God's divine expression, his anchor onto the physical plane and his connection to the physical plane. We can start to understand what the symbols of Easter mean, because literally, just how I was telling you that all of the different portions or all of the different fragments of divinity or divine sparks, the 288 fragments of divinity, portions of God. And this is also why you see sometimes the Bible talk about the portion within Jesus, and the Lamb of God is relating to his divine portion. When you know that all of them encompass different skills and attributes and different parts of God to make up the whole, this is what the egg being painted in different colors represents. It represents all of the different gods and their attributes. And even when you see it in the mythologies, you see the mythologies about the Greek gods and goddesses and the Egyptian gods and goddesses and the Hindu gods and goddesses, they all encompass a certain skill or a certain operation. Now, some of the gods do actually represent a divine operation at a macrocosm, at a higher level. But also they represent a operation and a skill on a microcosm too, on a level within the physical plane, expressed through them, the divine mind expressed through them. So some will be good at music, some will be good at languages, some will be good at mathematics, some will be good at the skills of a warrior, some will be good at the skills of teaching, some will be, so you understand what I'm saying. Each of the divine souls encompasses a certain skill and attribute to a high level, and that is normally how they're represented in the archetypes. But also this is why the eggs are all painted differently, because the egg represents the birth of the gods onto the physical plane. And this is why we see a lot of the mythology that I'm about to show you expresses how the divine are seeded onto the physical plane in eggs, and from those eggs they are then birthed, and from the divine then the mortals are created. And as I said, so the mortals are created from the next link down from the demigods. So the demigods are half God, half human, only in the way that they were birthed on the physical plane, but then from the demigods are then the mortal man. Okay, and as I said, if you look at the statue of Daniel, it's a good way to see how it's all represented. And iron and clay, iron man is the mortal man who is aligned with divine law, and iron and clay man is the empty mortal who does not understand himself and who will not make it through into the next cycle of the great year when we move back into the golden age. Only 144,000 mortal souls will be on the ark. It's a good way to see it. I love the ark analogy. So it's like the divine all have a seat on the ark. They're steering the ark into the golden age, okay? But there's only enough room on the ark. There's only enough weight on the ark to carry 144,000 mortal souls. If we all look at divine operation in that way, as a weight can come through into the golden age. And so that is why it's important that you align yourself with divine law, because that is what creates weight in your soul, is when you transgress divine law. So every time you move outside of divine law, you create weight in your soul. And that is not conducive to getting a seat on the ark to go into the golden age with the divine souls. And this all happens after Last Judgment. And this is why, Great Judgment, Last Judgment, Judgment Day, it's in every single culture. And that is because it's a divine operation within our universal design, that we are all weighed and measured at the end of our 26,000 year cycle to move into a new great year with the divine, who will go through regardless. And this is why, as I've said before, the antichrists absolutely despise the divine, And literally everything is done to mock the divine and to mock God, because they know that they will not be moving into the golden age. They will be going to the abyss, which is where all of the souls go that do not go into the golden age with the divine race. They will go to the abyss, and they will no longer exist. Their consciousness will be wiped from existence, because we are all souls and our consciousness is seated within our soul. The spiritual energy of our soul, or our essence of our soul, will return back to source, but our actual individual consciousness will be wiped from existence. And this is how universal design works. It's not that it's unfair, and it's just life, you know. I mean, little turtles that get born and go down the beach into the waves, half of them get eaten by seagulls. Is that mean, or is that just life? I mean, it's just life, you know. So it's we don't have this superior place in universal design where things like that don't happen, because we're human. How dare that happen? How dare we not all go through into the golden age? That's just mean. No, that's just life. That's just universal design. And it's part of the programming and part of the brainwashing to make us feel that we're all special. And especially in these days where everybody can get their 15 minutes of fame on social media, everybody thinks they're very special. And we're really not. We're really not that special, guys. The only special ones in the mind of the all is his children, because they are part of him, and that is the divine race. And that is why you will see in the Bible that there are children of God, God's chosen ones. It's not some people that live over in a place that was created in 1947 and call themselves Jews. It's only the 288 divine fragments that were created from the divine mind, from God the Father, who are the chosen ones. And that's why the Bible literally says they're scattered to the four ends of the earth, to the four directions of the earth, and nobody but God knows who his own are, and at the right time he will bring them back together. Hello, that is called illumination, when the gods will all illuminate and know themselves, and we will know them, and there will be 288 of them, and they are the true tribes of Israel and the true Jews. And so a lot of people in for a big wake-up call when the truth is revealed, that's for sure. So that is what the different coloured eggs are literally symbolising. Now, I'm just going to go through my notes, and then I will just stop at certain sections, and we'll discuss it from there, so we can try and get through all of this in at least 2 hours. Okay, so the timing of Easter, let's start there. So the first full moon after the March equinox is when Easter is. And so people always say, why does Easter change? Well, it's literally timed with the lunar cycle. And the lunar cycle is timed with what? You don't need to be an expert in esoteric knowledge to know that the lunar cycle is timed with the fertility cycle of the female, okay, the menstrual cycle of the female. And we know that, so it's related to the creation process of the soul. And the soul is formed in the womb of the female, of the human female. The soul is seated in the womb of the human female. And even the soul of the gods, of the divine, are seated within the human female womb. And that is not only the divine female womb, because human females, and we see this in a lot of mythology, and when I say human, I'm saying mortal females, can actually birth gods as well, okay? And that is why the female is a very, very important part of divine design and universal design, and that is why the female is held in a higher moral standard than the male. And so all these modern females that want to be the proud slut and think that empowerment comes through showing their tits and ass are literally denigrating their sacredness. And this is what the sacred feminine really is about. It's not about all this bullshit that the New Age go on about, where they all go dancing naked in the moonlight and they're all a bunch of idiots that really have no clue about what femininity is. The females are held to a high moral standard because they are the concubines of the divine seed, okay? And their child could very well be a divine soul. And so that is why they have to hold themselves to a higher moral standard, because they have to set an example for what could be God's actual child. Okay? And so all of this social engineering that we have at the moment, and that's what it is, it's brainwashing women to literally believe that their power comes from being sluts, from being whores, from literally exposing themselves, physically, literally putting themselves out there on a platter to males. It's just really degrading themselves. They're not respecting themselves. I mean, I can't tell you how sickening it is when I see little girls dressed up as women. And I see this more and more these days, where modern mothers seem to want to make their daughters their bestie. And it really is disgusting to see these little girls, and they're dressed in these little short skirts and these little tops, these little crop tops, and walking around like, half exposed. Not to mention that we have this prolific problem with pedophiles. Pedophiles aren't monsters that hide in corners. Pedophiles are everywhere, all right? And so when these mothers are parading their little girls around in next to nothing, they're just serving up their daughters to these pedophiles. It's horrible. It's disgusting. And they're disrespecting their little girl, and they're disrespecting themselves. So femininity comes from honoring yourself as a female in a modest way. And that doesn't mean you have to hide yourself from neck to ankle. It just means you have to have some self-respect, and not just hang it all out there. And a lot of guys that I actually speak to, they literally agree that they don't actually, like to see a girl completely dressed up as, as a slut. I mean, they're not going to deny that they won't look at this woman, but will they take her home? Will they take her seriously? Will they see her anything more than just her vagina and her tits? No, they won't. And this is the problem that we see with a lot of modern women. They just don't understand where their sacredness is, where their femininity is. And so this is why the woman is sacred. This is why your femininity is a sacred thing that you should actually cherish and teach your daughter to be respectful of her femininity too. Because you know what? You never know. Your daughter may be a goddess, literally. And if you're just dressing her up as a cheap whore, or a mini you that, walks around and waltzes around in next to nothing, then good luck to you on that day when you are weighed and measured, because I don't think it's going to turn out very well for you at all. So the moon is connected with the creation of souls on the material plane. The full moon can be likened to the full-term belly of a pregnant woman. And so this is also why we see Easter is after the first full moon of the March equinox. So it's creation coming to fruition, literally just before the woman is about to give birth. Easter Friday. Friday is related to Frigg in Norse mythology, and Frigg is Odin's wife. So Frigg and Odin are the androgynous male and female creator, names that the Norse have given the male and female aspects of the creator, the prime creator. And so Frigg, Good Friday starts on Frigg's Day, on the female aspect of the creator on that day. And that is because that is when that is the seeding of the divine soul. Okay, if we look at Easter as the creation of the divine souls, and of course the extension of mortal men. You will find that most of the divine knowledge is actually in relation to the divine race, the operations of the divine race, not really the mortals. I'm sorry, mortals, we don't actually, we're not that important in the grand scheme of things. We're really just an afterthought. We're really just an extension of the divine. So don't get upset about that. Just feel grateful that you have knowledge about the gods and goddesses and the divine race, and that you are an extension of them. And at least if you do understand this knowledge to the point where you actually do have this at a very, very deep level, this understanding at a very, very deep level, to the point where you understand it fully, who you are and your part in the universal design, you will probably get a ticket on the ark to go through with the divine race into the great New Year cycle, the next 26,000 year cycle into the golden age. So at least we should be thankful for that. Okay, so we should be grateful that we are at least starting to understand who we are in that aspect. So don't get too disappointed in the fact that this knowledge doesn't really relate to mortal man. It really does relate to the divine race, and we are just an extension of the divine humans. And so in a way it relates to us in different degrees, but the real importance of all of this symbolism connects to the divine, to the real children of God, to the fragments of the Creator that were birthed onto the physical plane. So Easter Saturday relates to Saturn Day, and Kronos, and the timing of the cycles that bring forth the gods. Okay, so we can even see this in the Greek mythology, that it is Saturn that gives birth to Zeus. Even though Zeus is the creator, is the symbol for the prime creator, it is the timing of the cycles that even the prime creator, his influences also follow those cycles when it comes to the expression of the divine creator on the physical plane. So there's only some times on the physical plane that we have access to the creator's divine light, and that we can see that God is present on the physical plane in a way that we can tangibly experience God through his divine portions, through the divine souls. And that at other times through the cycle, when we're in the Iron Age, and that divine portion is sunken into matter and covered in matter, that we can't actually see that divinity and tangibly experience that divine nature within God. So we can see that timing is very important within everything. Everything is timing. Everything in the universe is timing. And this is even when you look at the symbolism regarding Ezekiel, okay? He sees the cycles, the cogs, the wheels within the wheels, and that's how we can see everything. I mean, even the way that the planets orbit, even the cycles of the sun, everything is circular and in cycle. Even the weather, the seasons, it's all cyclical. Okay, and so that is what Saturn represents. So in the form of Easter Saturday, it's the gestation cycle, it's the cycle of the birthing of the gods. Now, Easter Sunday, so in Greek mythology, Sunday is related to Zeus, and the majority of religions worship God on a Sunday and attribute Sunday to the resurrection and reincarnation of Jesus. This symbolizes the creation of the divine male in the material world and the rebirth of the divine male in the golden age, because that is what resurrection actually means, okay? Jesus is resurrected, he is illuminated. And if we have a look at the tarot card and we look at the number 17, the star, illumination. That is what the illumination means. If we look at the major arcana of the tarot, it's very important symbolism. I do actually recommend everybody study the symbolism of the major arcana tarot. It's a very important symbolism, especially in relation to the events that we're about to experience on the physical plane as we move towards the apocalypse and Armageddon. We are going to experience a major shift. I call it the crack. Literally, we're going to see continents rise and continents go under, major earthquakes, volcanoes all going off in unison, and that is represented by the Tower card. And that is literally, it's like an egg breaking open. It's like the shell of the earth breaking open to rebirth the new land, the new earth. And so that is going to be cataclysmic. And after that, we are going to see the illumination of the divine. And so when we see the illumination of the divine, this is the resurrection of the Christed and the resurrection of Jesus. Okay, so that is what that means. Now, eggs are given on a Sunday, as this represents the egg of creation seated in the material world by God the Father. As well, we see a lot of mythology around the cosmic egg. And so on a macrocosm, we can see that the mythology relates the creation of the universe as to the breaking open of an egg, and the heavens and earth are then revealed and created from the breaking open of that egg. It's an allegory, it's a parable, it's a way to symbolically understand the creation of the universe on that level. And then on a macrocosm, we can see that from that egg, then the eggs are created on the physical plane, and then the divine are hatched from those eggs as well. Now, a Sunday is also Palm Sunday, so the 2nd, and I think this is over in the US, guys. You are still on the 2nd of April. Today over in the US is Palm Sunday. And Palm Sunday literally represents, it's not really included in the 4 days of Easter, which is next week, but it's symbolic in the way that after the illumination, the palm tree relates to the ethereal representation of the male, in that the trunk is situated in earth and in the material, but the leaves are in the ethereal, are up in heaven. And the way that the leaves are like feathers is why they use the palm as a relatable archetype, in that way that they can attribute it to the Christed, to his divine nature. And so when you see some of the depictions of Eve coming out of the side of Adam, you'll see that his head is resting against a palm tree. And in the Zohar, it talks about, why is the righteous man compared to a palm tree? Now, when you hear about righteous man, it's normally talking about the divine man. When is the righteous man compared to a palm? Why is the righteous man compared to a palm tree? Because just as if a palm tree is cut down, it takes a long time for one to grow again. So if the world loses a righteous man, it is a long time before another arises in its place. So literally, when the world lost the righteous man, the divine man, was at the end of the Silver Age. Coming into the Bronze Age, the divine race began to lose their illumination. We began to not be able to identify who the divine souls were as opposed to the mortal souls. And so it takes a long time, thousands of years, because we are in the Iron Age and the Bronze Age. So probably towards the end of the Bronze Age, I would say that the divine race completely lose their illumination. So we're probably looking at around 3,000 years, 3,500 years, that the divine race have lost their illumination. And so they are actually experiencing creation and being humbled at that level. And that's all about their own experience and their own education. It's a good way to look at it as a father chastising and educating his children and humbling them. And so for literally around 3,000 years, they lose their illumination. And so we have lost a righteous man. And it is a long time before another arises in his place. Furthermore, just as a palm tree does not grow alone unless the male be accompanied by a female. And so this is what the Catholic Church have chosen to do, is remove the importance of the female as much as they can and reduced her to nothing but a vessel for birthing the divine seed, which they relate to Jesus. But there are actually two Jesuses, because there is the firstborn Jesus, who is literally the firstborn of all of the divine race, and then there's the firstborn demigod, which is what little baby Jesus represents, and Eros represents that, Krishna represents that, Horus represents the demigod as well. So what we see now, even with all of the goddesses and all of the symbolism around the goddesses, the establishment experts who are all funded by the Antichrists and the Catholic Church. I mean, go and have a look at who established all of the universities, okay? It just makes me laugh that people don't put two and two together. The Catholic Church literally founded the most prestigious universities, and if it wasn't the Catholic Church, it was a Christian sect, and they're all roads lead back to the Catholic Church, even when they try to basically hide behind the fact that they have fragmented their own religion into different sects. They all actually go back to the Catholic Church. So they literally will call every single goddess that is the representation of fertility. That means fertility. Everything means freaking fertility in the modern academia or academics when it relates to goddesses, and it's a load of BS, because the female also has possession of intellect. And we see that Mary Magdalene in the Gnostic Gospels, the Gospel of Philip, Mary Magdalene was the favorite disciple of Jesus, and there are Gnostic Gospels that talk about Jesus and Mary Magdalene being husband and wife. Well, the reason that Mary Magdalene was the favorite disciple of Jesus is because she is also an intellect. And the Holy Grail relates to Mary Magdalene because the Holy Grail represents knowledge, okay? The possession of knowledge. And I've spoken about this before, the way the two divine minds work with the male and the female, Chokmah and Binah. Chokmah literally brings down the knowledge and holds the wisdom within him, and then the female helps give an understanding for that wisdom through the explanation and the decoding of the symbols, of the archetypal symbols that the divine male brings down, because he has direct access to the divine mind or to the Akashic records or Hermes, Thoth. There's many different names because we don't, our minds do not directly connect to God's mind, because it would blow our minds to pieces, because it's just too great. It has to come down in degrees. And so we can see knowledge as being stored, compartmentalized in a certain area, and then it's accessed from that area to the human mind or the divine mind. And so the divine male accesses that, and then the divine female gives an explanation to the archetypal symbols and the pattern recognition and all of the wisdom that he is bringing down. So they have to work together, and there's many different texts that talk about that. Even Manly P. Hall talks about how the male and female mind must work together. This is Chokmah Binah. In these times, people see it as the left side, right side of the brain, and they don't actually look further than that, but that is literally what it is. And if you look biologically at the mind, at the brain, if you go and have a look at the brain of the female and you go and have a look at the brain of the male, they're not only shaped differently, but even when they look at the way that the mind fires off information and the neurons fire between each other, the male and the female brain actually work differently. They process information differently. Their neurons work in a different pattern, in a different way. So this is the true understanding of the male and female mind and the principle, the Hermetic principle of gender. Okay, it goes down to everything, our bodies, our minds, they're all unique to our gender. And so this is what this means when it says that the male must be accompanied by the female, so the righteous cannot flourish save when they are male and female together. So the divine cannot flourish and be in full power until they are reunited with their other half, until they work together as a complete soul. And remember what I said, we're all half of the other soul. And so you'll hear a lot of new age information out there incorrectly state that souls don't have gender, but that is absolutely a misinformation, disinformation, fallacy, absolute untruth, and it basically ties into this social engineering and this brainwashing of there's no such thing as gender, okay, trying to make us all homogenous and not have any gender. Souls absolutely do have gender, and so you will not be birthed one gender, one incarnation you're a male, next incarnation you're a female. No, that does not happen. That is just new age disinformation. Every incarnation, your physical body is an extension of your ethereal body, and your ethereal body has gender. So there is that. Right, Jesus came to a certain fountain near Bethany. This is from the Gospel of the Holy 12, why it is very, very important for you to go and read the Gospels and the other scriptures that are outside of the Bible that the Catholic, and I call it the Catholic Bible because the Catholic have put those books together. They put together those 73 books. Who was it? The Baptists, I think, took 7 books away and have 66 books, and then they think, oh, we've got our own Bible, we don't depend on the Catholics. No, they're still all taking from Catholic canon. It's the Catholic Bible, okay? So this is from the Gospel of the Holy 12. Jesus came to a certain fountain near Bethany, around which grew 12 palm trees, and he often went to his disciples to teach them the mysteries of the kingdom. And there he sat beneath the shade of the trees, and his disciples with him. Well, 12 palm trees, basically relating the palm tree once again to the divine male. And we know that 12 is very important. It's an important number when it comes to the divine race. So the important numbers of the divine race are 288, 144, 96, 72, 36, 24, 12, 33, and 88. Okay, they are all pretty much very important numbers when it comes to the divine race. And so when you see a lot of the evil in the world today with their false flags, you will see that a lot of the numerology of these false flags relate to those numbers, and there is good reason for that. King Charles, false King Charles, his complete name equals 144, and that is how I know that they are going to crown him as the false Messiah. So it's all to do with numerology, which is another very important esoteric tool that you must understand if you want to fully understand the scriptures and fully understand the esoteric knowledge. You have to have a basic understanding of numerology because it's very important. I mean, God literally talks in numbers. Okay, sacred geometry is literally the design of the universe, is literally the fingerprint of God on the created world, and it is all, you know, related to sacred geometry and the Fibonacci sequence. So God speaks in numbers. God's language is numbers and symbols, and so it's very important if you want to understand the parables and you want to understand the mythologies and the scriptures that you understand the language of God. It really is as easy as that. And then in Ezekiel, it was carved with cherubim and palm trees, and a palm tree was the cherub, and every cherub had 2 faces. So the cherubs also relate to the divine in the ethereal form, and basically the 2 faces of every cherub is relating to the male and female twin soul. And you'll see a lot of the symbolism in the alchemical drawings. You know, the alchemical illustrations will show a male and female in an androgynous form, and it's not showing the brain in left and right, which is what a lot of people in the New Age community tried to translate that to, it's actually showing the twin soul. And because, look, if we understand the principle of correspondence, then we know that we have to relate everything fully, not only to the physical, but to the soul and to the mental, because we are mental, spiritual, physical, okay? That is our own trinity. And so when you're relating that androgyny, and that androgynous symbol, you have to relate it to the mind, to the soul, and to the physical. So to just say that it relates to the mind, you're not actually basically applying the full law of correspondence, because correspondence is all different degrees. Mind, body, and soul by different degrees. That's what the law of correspondence means. So we have to apply it mind, body, soul. If we apply it to the mind, we can see that it's the male, female brain. If we were to apply it to the mind just in one brain, in every human, that the male and the female brain just applied to that one brain inside every human, then how would we apply it to the physical and the spiritual? It would mean that we would all be androgynous. So it doesn't actually work. You have to actually separate the male and female mind into two separate brains, two separate halves that are created into two separate souls that are then birthed into two separate physical bodies. And then we can actually apply the principle of correspondence correctly, the principle of polarity correctly, the principle of gender correctly, the principle of mentalism correctly. So it's basically, you know, applying it fully, not just seeing it in that one aspect. So that's how we have to understand it. So Easter Monday is related to the moon. And again, remember we spoke about the moon, the full belly of the moon, the full belly of the female, is related to the continued cycle of the divine soul's reincarnation as well. So that's what Easter Monday is talking about, the female bringing down the spark of God, the constant rebirthing of the soul onto the physical plane, and that the moon has a part in that divine operation, and that the female is very important, and that is why she's sacred, and that is why she needs to protect her femininity and, you know, hold herself at a higher moral level than males. It doesn't mean that you're not equal to a male just because you're not out sleeping around with everybody. Not that that's good that a male can do that too. I mean, that's really just soul destroying when a male, you know, enacts in that way too. He's not actually honoring his own self. He's not being respectful to himself, acting in that way too. But it's different for males in the way that they see sex as a physical operation, and it's more emotional and spiritual for a woman. And that's why when you just act out in that way as a female, you really are injuring yourself on a spiritual level a lot more than a male. I mean, as I said, it's not good for males to do it either, but for a female, you really are injuring yourself at a very, very deep level to enact in that way. And that's why it's just, it doesn't feel good when you see females acting in that way. And I don't care how much they want to slutify themselves and horrify themselves and try and make it normal. We know within ourselves, we know it doesn't look good when you see a female behave that way and cheapen herself that way. It just, there's something within us. It's like when you see two males together and acting out, you know, in that way together, you know, in public, you just, there's something in you that it doesn't sit right within you. It turns your stomach, and that's because it's not natural. It's an unnatural act against nature. It's out of alignment with universal law, and that is why we have our own inner compass, our inner moral compass, where we can actually, you know, acknowledge that, or we can override it. I mean, our brains are pretty good at doing that, and we can harden our hearts and we can override that. But we know instinctively when something isn't right, and that is the same with females who, you know, whore themselves out. It's just instinctively, it's just not right. So Easter will always fall in the zodiac of Aries, and Aries symbolizes the firstborn divine male. If we look at the Emperor Tarot card, he's got ram heads that are sitting on his stone chair. Stone is symbolizing the material, so the divine in the material form. The magician is the divine in the ethereal form. Okay, when we see him in the ethereal form. The priestess, number 2, she is the female in the ethereal form. The empress is the female in the material form, and the emperor is the male in the material form, the divine male. He's holding the globus cruciger. He's got the ram's head on his stone throne, okay? And he's wearing a red robe. Now, if you go and have a look at a lot of the Christian iconography and the symbolism in the Christian paintings, you'll see that Jesus always pretty much wears red. Red or blue. Normally red, because blue, you'll normally see Mary wearing blue, because red is symbolizing the divine male and blue is symbolizing the divine female, and purple is symbolizing the divine tribe, the divine Messiah tribe. Now, Easter relates to spring because spring relates to the birth of new life, okay? It's not always fertility. No. Do we celebrate breathing? Because if we're celebrating fertility, then we've got to celebrate walking, we've got to celebrate breathing, we've got to celebrate, all of those other operations of the human body that happen all the time naturally. So not all of the goddesses were symbolizing fertility. In fact, that's the very minimal representation of the goddesses, because it is just a natural part of being a human, just like breathing. So what's happened is that those who have co-opted the educational institutes and the religions have taken the power away from the female and reduced her down to her womb and her vagina. They do not want anybody knowing that we have to take the intellect of the female seriously as well, or any of her other attributes as well. I mean, some females were warriors back in the ancient days as well, so they are very good strategists. In the Persian armies, one of the best strategists, the best general strategists, was a female. So to just basically represent the female as being, connected to fertility all the time is just disrespecting the female and just reducing her down to her womb and her vagina. And so, we have to look beyond that, okay? So Nowruz, which is still celebrated in Iran during Easter, in Persian mythology, it relates to the birth of the new golden age, so the birth of the new great year. And you will see that I have done a video in regards to the Ragnarok. So if you look on my channel, the divine nature within mankind, you will see, and I think it's also in the playlist, The Great Year, you will see the Persians also have a mythology very similar to the Ragnarok. And it's all to do with the cycles of our year, of our great year, the golden age, the silver age, the iron age, and the golden age, the silver age, the bronze age, the iron age, which we're in now, and then how we move back into the golden age after a great cataclysm, after the apocalypse, and the weighing of the soul, last judgment. A lot of people, call it different names, but it's present in every single culture. And so that is also celebrated around Easter by the Persians, who are now known as the Iranians. And isn't that very interesting how we see that the Antichrists want to punish these cultures like Syria, Libya, and the Persians, the Iranians, all of the wars, all of the Yemen, all of this conflict that we see in these places where they're literally destroying these places. They're just carpet bombing them to rubble, and even the sacred sites are being bombed. And this is because the Antichrists are destroying the divine, any reference to the divine, and they can do that in these countries because they were very easily infiltrated and corrupted. And so they're all part of the stage show too, guys. Don't for 1 minute don't think that they're not part of the stage show. All of their politicians, in Syria and Ukraine and Russia, they're all part of the stage show. They're all co-opted, and they're all part of the plan to destroy what they will never inherit. And this is all part of the script. So Egypt is going to be attacked. Could be during World War III. I do think that they will try to nuke the pyramids. So when you start to see more information being released about Egypt, pay attention. But I do think that will be one of their last cards, because it's literally going to be global financial collapse, food shortages, bring in their new system, which is basically going to be communism, basically going to be all of us being surveillance. Technology is going to be our prison. We're all going to be, connected by our phones, or maybe chipped, who knows. They're going to play that out, and then they're going to play World War III. That's going to be the last card, because World War III is going to include thermonuclear war. There might be a few little scuffles before World War III. So if that happens before the global financial collapse, then you know that it's not going to be World War III. If they do set off a nuke, it will probably be in a less strategic country, not a Western country, or maybe a poorer European country. It will be to usher in the global financial collapse. So the global financial collapse will be the card they play before World War III. But World War III, they will nuke everything, and they will nuke the pyramids. That they will attack Egypt, because Egypt is basically the navel. If you could see the earth as an entity, and apply, deify or personify the earth into, say, Gaia, then Egypt is her navel. Egypt is the soul, where the soul of humanity was created, and I do believe that is where the divine was seated, in that geographic location. I don't have any evidence for that. It's just through looking at the mythologies and all of the different texts and the importance of Egypt. And there's an importance put on Egypt for a reason, even with the way that they built the pyramids to last thousands of years, because the pyramids were literally built just after the Silver Gate. So they've been there for at least 12,000 years, 10,000 years. For them to build those pyramids there, they wanted us to know and align those pyramids with the belt stars of Orion and Sirius and Draco as well, which will actually connect to the Cygnus constellation that you see in the pictures that I'm showing you. It's all relating. We're getting there, guys. We're getting there. All right. So just in short, the 4 days over Easter, we can see them in this way. Easter Friday, impregnation. Easter Saturday, gestation. Easter Sunday, birth into the material world. And Easter Monday, regeneration, reincarnation of the divine souls. So that's literally how you can see the 4 days of Easter, if you want to just reduce them down to point form and to see what they represent. And then I would actually go and look at that further if I were you guys and you want to do more study into that. It's a good way to see it. So Easter Friday, impregnation. Easter Saturday, gestation. Easter Sunday, birth into the material world. And Easter Monday, regeneration, reincarnation of the divine souls. So the egg of the Milky Way. The egg is the symbol of divine creation. The cosmic egg symbolizes the creation of the universe in the macrocosm and the creation of the divine humans in the microcosm. The membrane of the egg can be likened to the membrane between heaven and earth, which is why a lot of creation myths connect the egg to the creation of the universe. The Milky Way is seen as the bridge that souls are birthed from, and the bridge souls traverse when they return to the afterlife. And we can also see the Milky Way as the membrane of the egg. The ancient Egyptians called it the halls of Maat. Okay. Oh, and also going back to, and I remembered, I just didn't explain fully Palm Sunday and what it represents. So it represents, after the illumination of the Christed, them returning to the Holy Land. And the Holy Land, Jerusalem, is actually the Golden Age. Okay, it represents the Golden Age. So what the evil have done, and those who have co-opted our religions and the symbols of the Bible, have just taken places from the Bible and then recreated them in geological areas on the planet, and they've just called them Jerusalem. It's not actually Jerusalem. It's not actually Israel, because Jerusalem, Bethlehem, Israel, it's all representing the Golden Age. It's representing the earth when we are in the Golden Age. And so the palm fronds being put down before Jesus as he's walking towards Jerusalem is literally the ethereal returning. Remember how I said with the principle, the Hermetic principle of rhythm, we can see the tide going in and out of the ether. So the tide of ether comes back in, the Christed are illuminated, and then they are rebirthed back into the Golden Age. And that is what the symbols of the palm leaves being put before Jesus as he walks back into Jerusalem is relating to. The North American Indians called the Milky Way the Chapai Meskanu, and I've probably butchered that, and it is considered to be the bridge to the land of the souls. The Norse call this bridge between heaven and earth Bilrost, and associated its location with the Milky Way. The Norse also as I said, the North Americans also associated the Milky Way with the bridge. So the Milky Way is the birthing ground of souls. Okay, and this is why we relate this to Cygnus, the constellation Cygnus. And you'll see this when I start talking about the mythology in relation to Leda and the swan. Now, Hermes Trismegistus, and this is from Manly Hall, Teaching of All Ages. Behold, O Hermes, there is a great mystery in the eighth sphere, for the Milky Way is the seed ground of souls, and from it they drop into the rings, and to the Milky Way they return again from the wheels of Saturn. But some cannot climb the seven-runged ladder of the rings, so they wander in darkness below and are swept into eternity with the illusion of sense and earthiness. That's Hermes Trismegistus from Manly P. Hall, Teaching of All Ages. The Milky Way also relates to the birth of the first two divine tribes in the mythology of Leda and the swan. And so the first two divine tribes are important in the creation of the divine because they represent if you can see humanity, or the and that's why the cross is such a very important archetypal symbol and a very important symbol, just in general, in perceiving or visualizing how the divine are created. So you see the first emanation from the mind is then birthed into the physical, and so that is the top of the first pole, or the first part of the cross, the first arm of the cross, and the bottom of the first arm of the cross. So that is tribe of Dan, tribe of Reuben, and then the second arm of the cross is tribe of Ephraim and tribe of Judah. And so it's really important, those first two, they are the mind creating the physical. Okay, the mind of the all, the mind of the creator, creating the physical and into the material. So it's the tribe of Dan, the tribe of Reuben, the tribe of Ephraim, which is the heart, and then the tribe of Judah, which is the will and the spirit and the soul of everything that's basically encompassed in the soul. That is how we can view the creation of the divine. And so this is why we see the first two divine messiahs, because when we see the mythology around Castor and Pollux, so Castor and Pollux were birthed in the eggs from Leda and the swan. So the swan impregnated Leda, and Leda birthed the two divine Messiah tribes out of eggs. So it wasn't just Castor and Pollux, and that's all everyone tends to focus on, and most people just think Castor and Pollux, and they don't think about that each of them were born with a female twin. And the female twins were Helen of Troy and Clytemnestra. And so this basically is representing two things. It's representing the first emanation of the divine mind creating the first tribe, and then the second tribe creating it in the material. But also the four relates to the four messiahs, because each of the divine races, so the white race, the red race, the black race, and the yellow race, all have their own male and female messiah. So yes, every single race has their own Jesus. So yes, there is a black Jesus, a red Jesus, a white Jesus, and a yellow Jesus. Something else that no clergy are ever going to tell you. Okay, and this is why, most people, it doesn't make sense. Why isn't Jesus, he should be Arab. He should be brown. Yeah, he is. He's white too. And he's black. And he's red. Okay, because Jesus is a symbol. He's not an identity. He's not a personality. He's not a person. He never existed as a Jesus person walking around saying, hey, my name's Jesus. He's just a symbol that represents the firstborn divine male. And he can be, symbols are often have more than one meaning. Okay, they have double meanings, triple meanings sometimes. And they have layers to them. And so Jesus being the firstborn can represent the firstborn of all the divine males, but then the firstborn of the divine demigods, but then the firstborn of all of the divine messiahs. See how it can represent different degrees of an understanding within that one symbol. So there you go. Now you understand that this is why we see the twins born with Castor and Pollux that are never spoken about. So the two divine twins, male and female, were in each egg. So Zeus basically transforms into a swan. Again, guys, this is mythology. How many people take this literally in these times and then they think they're intelligent? I mean, you literally see videos about people, taking these mythologies as though they are literal, and even videos about archaeology. I see this lately, Christian archaeology. It's a thing. It's a thing, guys. They literally go to places in the Middle East and they find evidence of Bible stories. I mean, it's hilarious. I mean, these people are idiots, okay? They should be reading Mark 11:12 because the Bible is occulted. And I was literally going to do this live stream today, was going to be about the Bible being occulted. And that was going to be the title, just to trigger any modern Christians that happen to come across my videos. So I'm saving that for the next live stream. But this live stream, I decided to be on point about Easter. So Zeus transforms into a swan, and the swan symbolizes the constellation of Cygnus. The star Deneb is located at the tail of Cygnus and is positioned at what is known as the Great Rift of the Milky Way. And that is why I've been showing you the constellation of Cygnus, is because basically it is showing you the great rift within the Milky Way where the birth of the souls are originating from. Okay, whether that be literally, or whether that be spiritually, whether that be figuratively, that is what it relates to, and that is how we should view it, because it probably is a good way to see it. I do believe that the Milky Way is a tangible part of the ethereal realm in which we can visualize the membrane between the two worlds, and I do believe that on a more ethereal and spiritual level, we probably don't understand how the birthing of the souls works. Probably we will be able to understand that more so in the golden age, because remember, we are very withdrawn from the spiritual. Like the veil between the physical and the ethereal is very calloused, very firm in these times. But as we move back into the golden age, when we have the veil between the two worlds won't be as thick, won't be as solid. So we may know and we may be able to visualize more of this, and which is why all of these, the ancient knowledge represented these areas, because when these mythologies were written, they still had access to the knowledge and to the truth, okay? And we only have fragments now, and that's why a lot of these Greek mythologies were bastardized, and you will see many different versions. When you understand the knowledge to the level that you should, that you can just start reading mythologies and you can identify the basic core truths, you'll be able to disregard the ones that were poisoning the well. Because remember, they did burn down the Library of Alexandria, and whatever wasn't destroyed, they just basically rewrote their own versions, okay, and bastardized them. And that was to confuse us. So you just return back to those that actually can be cross-referenced with other knowledge and mythologies, and you will see these core truths repeating time and time again. So Zeus then copulates with Leda, who then gives birth to 2 eggs that hatch and produce a male and female twins: Castor, Helen of Troy, Pollux, and Clytemnestra. Now, when you see the symbol of the zodiac, the Gemini, and they have Castor and Pollux, sometimes when you see the zodiac man, if you actually go and do a Google of zodiac man, it'll bring you up some diagrams of a man, and then they show you the different reference points within the human body that are related to the zodiac, and it'll also show you the man standing inside the zodiac cycles, the circle of all of the zodiac procession. Sometimes you will see that Gemini is a male and female. It's not always 2 males. So that is representing the male and female divine tribe, okay, the male and female Messiah tribe. According to Pythagoras, Apollo's soul passed into a swan on his death, and there is also an ancient Greek vase. It's in the loop that I'm showing with all the pictures, depicting Apollo next to a palm tree and riding a swan with a hare at his feet, okay? The symbol of the egg also, as I've said, relates to the birth of divine humans. I'm just reading my notes now. Many cross-culture myths about the divine being connected to eggs. Yes, we've gone over that. In ancient Greek mythology, the god Phanes was created androgynous and birthed from an egg, who in turn gave birth to the gods. The symbol of Phanes is a man wrapped in a serpent inside the shape of an egg. Phanes is also known as Phanes Dionysus, and we know that Dionysus is representing the firstborn divine male, and that confirms he is symbolizing the creation story of the firstborn divine male. This represents the firstborn divine male, who is also represented with the serpent, and you can see that in the symbology of the symbolism of King Nuada and Queen Danu of the Teutha de Danann and the tribe of Dan. Okay, the tribe of Dan connected to the serpent, and the tribe of Dan is literally another symbol for Jesus. So is Saint John, and the eagle and the sword. In ancient Egypt, Ra was birthed from Osiris, who was an egg, and Ra is the ancient Egyptian symbol of the firstborn divine man. And the ancient Egyptian Book of the Dead, there is this saying, O thou who art in egg, Ra, who shinest from thy disk and riseth in thy horizon, and dost shine like gold above the sky, like unto whom there is none among the gods. Again, showing Ra as the firstborn God, talking about his illumination, and gold is relating to the firstborn degree of gods who are gold. And so that is why you see gold connected a lot with the divine males and the divine race, because it is signifying the firstborn degree within the divine race. The firstborn, the first degree is gold, then silver, then bronze, which is the demigods. The Egyptian goddess Unut is connected to the hare and the snake and worshipped alongside Thoth, and we know that Thoth relates to knowledge, and so does the rabbit. The rabbit and the hare doesn't only relate to the cycle of regeneration. It's not fertility, it's regeneration. It's the rebirthing of the souls. Okay, because we know fertility is just a human operation. Why does it need to be celebrated? It is a thing. It's the regeneration of souls into the physical form, into the material form. That is what it's representing. But it's also representing the hare, and the rabbit is also representing knowledge. And that is why we see Alice in Wonderland. If you actually want to go and look at some symbolism, go and have a look at that fairy tale, because a lot of these fairy tales are full of symbolism for a reason. And Alice follows the white rabbit to discover herself, okay? And the white rabbit is all about, you know, the way that seeking knowledge works. You know, when you're following information and you're researching into this knowledge, it often works in a way that you're looking into something and then suddenly something comes to your attention just out of nowhere that connects to what you were just researching. And so then you go and follow that, and it's like connecting the dots. It's like, it is literally like going down a rabbit hole, and they've bastardized that now too. And when they bastardize symbols, you know it's for a reason. You know it's because that is an important symbol that they don't want you to understand the truth about, and so they bastardize it. And so they've bastardized the white rabbit, and they've connected it to that ridiculous psyop that everyone got caught up in, that I'm not even going to mention because it's just so ridiculous that I'm not even going to give it the time of day. The Chinese Palangs trace their ancestry to a Naga princess who laid 3 eggs. And in some myths about Mithras, he was said to be born from an egg, and a stone relief that was found in Hadrian's Wall, Britain, is said to be of Mithras inside a zodiac ring being born from an egg, and it's almost identical to the depiction of Phanes, so it could probably be the same thing. It could probably be the same thing. The twin sons is literally talking about the firstborn male Messiah of the divine races, the firstborn 2 male messiahs. Remember how I just told you the first arm of the cross is a very important pillar. That's what I'm looking for, the name of it, the pillar. So if you look at the first arm of the cross, you can see it as a pillar, okay? And then the second arm crosses over it. So the pillar, the firstborn divine male and the secondborn divine male are very important. They are like the first pillar of creation, because the divine females emanate from the divine male, and that's literally what the symbolism in regards to Eve coming out of the side of Adam relates to. So it's male and then female when we're looking at the ethereal. And then from that time on, it's female then reproduces male and female. But in the ethereal, it's male and then female. That's how that basically is represented. So you will often see the twin heroes in mythology, and that is what that relates to. The hero myths is the first 2 messiahs, the first 2 pillars of creation. So the rabbits and the hare. The rabbit symbolises the intellect of the female knowledge, also purity, and the virgin birth and divine operation of the divine and mortal female, reproducing God's divine portion or sparks into the material world. In a Native American myth, the rabbit is challenged by 2 snakes to have a tug of war over a river. The rabbit fools the snakes into holding each end of the rope, each believing the rabbit is on the other end. The myth, so what happens is then in the myth, the snakes realise that the rabbit has tricked them and that they're really playing tug-of-war with each other. This is literally showing you that the rabbit has intellect, the rabbit is intelligent and strategic. Again, the rabbit doesn't just, connect to the operation of rebirth. Okay, it's also showing intelligence, strategy. It's also, showing, knowledge. And that is what the experts in the education institutes do not want you to know, and the religious institutes do not want you to know. Alice follows the white rabbit down the rabbit hole. We've done that one. The Celts attributed the symbol of the hare to the divine trinity, abundance and good fortune. They were also connected to the other world, okay, to the ethereal, and was sacred and not to be hunted or eaten. The Celts believed that rabbits burrowed underground in order to better commune with the spirit world, and that they could carry messages from the living to the dead and from humankind to the fairies. And so that's another archetype of why. So certain symbols are chosen to be archetypal symbols because of their fractal and what they relate to. And so rabbits are known for digging burrows, and burrows deep within the earth connect to the other world. Okay, it's a good way to see that, when you dig beneath the material, you will find the ethereal. And so that is what the symbol also relates to. Hares were associated with the Greek goddess Artemis, and she was considered their protector, who would not allow them to be hunted or eaten. In China, the hare in the moon is depicted with a mortar and pestle in which she mixes the elixir of immortality. And so that is actually relating to the soul and the immortality of the soul, because we know that the soul is immortal. That is the portion of the divine man that is immortal. Our physical shells are not immortal. We will never be immortal in a physical form. Anybody that believes immortality relates to somebody living immortal life physically for thousands of years is just being brainwashed by the disinformation. It's in relation to our souls and our incarnations in physical form from those souls. When we go over into the golden age, we, as a mortal human, we have experienced immortality because our souls have been resurrected with the divine into a new age, into a new great year cycle, and we have proven ourselves worthy of that, and so we can see ourselves as immortal. And the mortal soul, the souls of a mortal man, a human man, can achieve immortality if they do not transgress the divine laws and stay within the divine laws. They can be God-like, and I've said this many times, we can be Christ-like, we can be God-like, we can be Buddha-like, but we cannot be divine if we are not divine. We cannot be Buddhas, we cannot be gods, we cannot be Christ. So even though Jehovah's Witnesses have identified that Jesus is not God the Father, they actually do believe they can become gods. And so that is where there is an incorrect teaching and they've been led astray, which is very, very much a shame, because they're almost there. They're almost there. They've got the whole Jesus is not God the Father, but then they've been pushed and dragged down another false path. They've put a path there for all of us. So, when there were Christians waking up and starting to think that, I don't think Jesus is God the Father, because there's so many different verses that basically say that Jesus isn't God the Father. They had a religion there ready and waiting for them as well, which was the Jehovah's Witnesses, but then they pushed them down another false path by getting them to think that they could be gods. Okay, so, but at least they're better off than the modern religious people, the modern Christians who all believe they can, they are worshipping Jesus as God the Father and elevating the Son to be equal to the Father. They are literally blaspheming God, they are literally blaspheming the Son, and they are literally belittling God the Father as well. So foolish, very, very foolish. This goddess, in China, the hare of the moon is depicted with a mortar and pestle in which she mixes the elixir of immortality. This goddess conceives through the touch of the full moon's light with no need of impregnation. So that is how they are relating the virgin birth, the immaculate conception. Okay, remember where I was telling you that the divine female is already seeded upon creation from God the Father with the seed of the demigod within her womb. And then when she is created on the physical plane, she gives a physical birth to the demigod. And he is the connection, the link between the gods and mortals. Carvings of rabbits eating grapes and figs appear on both Greek and Roman tombs, symbolising their connection to the divine man and woman, who are often called the fruits of God. Okay, so when you see it a lot in Hebrew knowledge and Hebrew, that the Jews are called the fruits of God. Again, this isn't relating to Jews who live in a place that was created in 1947 and called Israel, or a certain group of people who follow a religion called Judaism. This is relating to the actual divine race, the divine portion, the divine fragments, the divine souls, who are the real Jews, who are the real tribes of Israel, and who are the real children of God, the fruits of God. And this is why we can see that the figs are related to the fruits, and the grapes are often spoken about as divine. And you see the gods holding the grapes, and the grapes are often spoken about in the Gospels and also in the Scriptures, because they relate to the divine fruit. Okay, and when you're partaking in the, when you're eating the fruits, and this is what you can see in cornucopias, you know, the horn of plenty. The fruits are coming out of the horn, and the horns symbolize knowledge, and the fruits that are coming out of the horn are literally divine knowledge. Okay, this knowledge that I'm giving you right now is divine knowledge. If I was relating this knowledge to you a few hundred years ago, I would be burned at the stake. Okay, and believe me, there are probably lots of modern Christians out there who hear me talking about Jesus in the way I do, who would love to burn me at the stake as well. Okay, and I speak with them all the time when I'm in discussion with them, and I say to them, I'm pretty sure that if you could do that, you would burn me at the stake as a heretic, because I get called a heretic all the time. And I can tell you that they would have no problem in seeing me burned at the stake. Okay, so this is why knowledge is only for those who can truly understand it. And the only reason that I am giving this knowledge now is because we are so close to Armageddon. We are so close to the last days now. We are in the last days, and we are so close to that time. And that I am just, they already know, if they have searched out for people who are in possession of this knowledge, they already are well aware of me. And so there's no use me just shutting down now and deleting all my videos. I may as well just go out telling the full truth. Okay, and that is why, if you are now finding this knowledge, then, well, if you are ignorant to the fact that what you are now in possession of, then poor you, because you will be actually judged even more severely. It's almost like a curse to happen upon this knowledge and then reject it, because you're literally spitting in the face of your creator. So sorry for that. And then we've got, in the Teutonic myth, the goddess Holda had a chariot drawn by hares, and Freya, the Norse goddess, was also served by hares. So as we can see, hares are relating to the divine female, and the divine female is also relating to knowledge and the gathering of knowledge, the basic understanding of divine knowledge, because it is the male that draws down the archetypes and the wisdom from the divine mind, but it is the female that has the understanding for that knowledge in a different way, in which she can explain it in a different way. And so this isn't just with divine males and females, this is with mortal males and females too, because our minds are a degree under divine minds. Okay, so there is no reason that we cannot understand this knowledge. We were all gifted an intellect, and to be worthy of that intellect and worthy of the incarnation of our souls, we must go and seek out knowledge of who we are and put our life to good use, put our incarnation to good use. Do not waste it on frivolous, entertainment and worldliness, especially in these times, because it is just not going to result in anything beneficial to you. So, lastly, just the New Age disinformation. I pretty much just covered that in my introduction of this video. If you are just joining me to this live stream now, you might want to go back to the first half an hour. I did kind of rant a little. I did kind of have a bit of a tangent, but that happens occasionally. I'm not going to apologize for who I am. I do the best that I can with what I am given and what I have found. So sorry if that isn't to everybody's liking. I know I'm not everybody's cup of tea, but I am who I am, and I'm not going to apologize for that. So yeah, just New Age disinformation. Be careful. It's going to circulate a lot over the next week. They're going to push you towards Ishtar. They're going to push you towards Ostra, from the German goddess Ostra. She was called the Dawn, a bringer of light, and one of her symbols was the hare as well, which is why they're trying to co-opt her into being about fertility and about paganism and how it's stolen. Again, we all know this knowledge has come from the same source, and all of this divine knowledge about the goddesses is connected. Okay, so that's why we see Mary with the rabbit, but then we see Ostra with the rabbit, and we see all of the other goddesses that I've just spoken about related to the rabbit, because they're all relating to the divine female. Okay, the firstborn divine female, just like the firstborn divine male. They've just given her different names according to the culture, according to how they've expressed the truths, these divine truths about the divine race. They've just given them different names. So they're all connected. They're all connected, guys. And that's what you've got to understand, and not be taken down this false path of religion versus paganism. Christianity, they're all pagan. Everyone was all, everyone had access to the same knowledge in the ancient times. Okay, we all just express that knowledge differently. And what's happened now, we're in the Tower of Babel. We've fragmented all the knowledge, and then we've all got possession of a little piece of the fragment. We're saying our little piece of the fragment is the truth, and you're a heretic. You don't have this fragment. You're not going to pass judgment. That's literally what's happening right now. It's really sad to see. Don't get caught up in it. The New Agers are no different to modern Christians. I really feel sorry for them. They've literally just taken another false path. Probably a little bit sad, because they are interested in their spiritual nature, but they're really just not interested in truth. They're spiritually apathetic, they're spiritually lazy, just like the modern Christians. And so this is what the symbols of Easter relate to. I have done a 2-part series on the symbols of Easter. If you want to see a less ranty, less tangenting, revelation of the knowledge about Easter, I made that, I think, in 2016 or 2015 or something like that, a few years ago. So check that one out if you want to, but I've pretty much covered everything in this 2 and a bit hours anyway. Any questions? I'll just quickly have a look down, see if there are any questions. Since I do call this my Q&A live stream, I suppose I better answer any questions. Do you guys have any questions? Is there anything that you guys want me to just explain a little bit further? I'm just going to scroll back and just have a look. Okay. Thank you, Megan. Good on you, Tim. Yeah, look, any occupation where you can actually spend time in study is the best way to go. Who cares if it's not being, a manager or a trainee or a tradie, or, doing what you were trained to do, or your career. That is worldliness and really not important in these times. What's important is that you make enough time to study the text and to learn who you are, because that is life. That is reality. So good on you. Yeah, whatever you can do to basically give you time to study. I'm totally in agreement with you. Rabble to expand. I haven't actually looked at that. Yeah, I'll have a look a little bit different into that, into the orb of false King Charles. I wouldn't be surprised if that has quite a lot of symbolism that is connected to it. And you're going to be making a video about it. Okay, well, I will join your channel and I will check out your video. It's not scary, it's disgusting. Is that talking about the females? Probably, yes. Yes, I find it disgusting too. As above, so below. As in life, so with death. Very true. Yes, that's right. It's very true. 1 foot out the door. Yes, they put out so many dead ends for us, so many false paths for us. They try and get us to go down these, you know, these disinformation paths that lead us nowhere. They think that, you know, we think we're getting knowledge, but we're just actually down another false path. And this is why they make the people that put out this information very engaging, very you know, charismatic. I mean, look at Russell Brand. He's very engaging. He's got a very larger than life personality. You know, look at Jordan Peterson. You know, all of these people, even Joe Rogan, I actually said his name properly today. He doesn't exactly say all of this type of spiritual information himself, but he'll get people on his show, okay? And because he seems like such an, you know, such an open-minded, you know, very, you know, kind of charismatic, popular personality, it encourages people to go down these paths of the other people that he brings onto his show. Okay, so you've got to be aware of that. The only true path is back to the ancient texts. There's really no other very exciting way to discover divine knowledge. Nobody's going to give it to you on a silver platter. There's not going to be any really interesting books, you know. Sometimes people say to me, can you give me the book where that's from? I can give you the books. I can give you the hundreds of books, but I can't give you an actual book that puts it all together. And I'm not really I'm not going to write a book either. You know, this is the best it's going to get with me. Probably a few blogs on my website, which I've kind of stagnated with. Sorry about that. And these live streams are really the best way for me to just pour out all of this knowledge that I have studied and put back together over the last 10 years. So then it's up to you guys to grab that and then go and take it further and study in it further. And that's why I've provided all of the texts for all of you guys to go and you know, research further. Forget all of these personalities. Forget all of these really interesting people like Greg Braden that tell you all you want to hear. And, you know, there's so many of them. Teal Swan, she's another one. You know, they're all there to create this spiritual apathy within you, okay? And just to let you think that you can sit back in your chair and just watch things and become more informed and more knowledgeable and more have an understanding of who you are. And it's just not how it's going to work. You need to show the divine mind, the creator, that you are worthy of this knowledge, and you do that by going and actively seeking it out all the time, going and reading all of the texts, you know, and just continue reading them. Even, you know, you might come to parts that aren't relevant, skip through them. It's okay. You can come back to them later. You know, it's not about being methodical. I haven't been methodical in the way I've researched. I've gone where the knowledge has taken me, and that's what the rabbit symbolizes. Don't just open up a text. Find something that has interested you and sparked your curiosity, okay, and go with that. Whatever it is in this stream or something else that you have found an interest in, and start researching into that, and just follow wherever it takes you, okay? Because you will find that the doors start opening for you, okay? And that the knowledge starts coming across your path, and then you follow that. That's the rabbits in a. That's the Celtic Trinity. So the Celts. So the question is regarding the picture with the rabbits and the dogs in the circle. Now the dog symbolism is about loyalty. Okay, dogs are loyal, all right, and God backwards is dog. Okay, so dogs are the most loyal of all animals, and dogs are the most loyal to us. Okay, as humans, as the human soul, and so dogs represent loyalty and service. You know, I mean, dogs will just, you know, basically trust in you. And so that is the archetypal attributes of dogs that we take from that symbolism. And that's why you'll see a dog on the card, the first card that represents God in the tarot, the Major Arcana Tarot, on the Rider-Waite Tarot. And as I said to you guys, study the Major Arcana in the tarot. Underneath the video, I've got a link to my Pinterest account that I've specially made an account, just a folder just for the live streams, and I've put down the Arcana, the Major Arcana there for you, so that you can go and look at that. But I would study those symbols, and the first card, the 0 card, okay, is basically God. And you'll see that there is a dog on that card as well. And that dog is jumping up towards the soul. And the soul has his eyes are on heaven. Okay, so he's looking to the ethereal for answers. He's trusting in that because he's walking towards a cliff. And so he's got full trust in he's got full trust in the ethereal over the physical. And that's what that represents too. And some say it can represent the star Sirius because it's called the dog star. And the dog star is always following or always in unison with the Orion belt stars, okay, as well. So that's pretty much what that means. And then the rabbits are what I was saying before about the Celtic mythology. I'm not sure where you're saying Thoth talking about travelling the universe, being chased in strange angles and curves by hounds because he tried to access knowledge or dimensions forbidden for him. The emerald tablets of Thoth are fake. I pretty much said this in my first live stream about Hermetics. Go and have a look at who wrote the emerald tablets of Thoth. Okay, full of half-truths. Some of what is written in them seems really, really on point, and then the others is just complete bullshit. But when you go and have a look at Doreel, his name was Maurice Doreel, and he was very tied to the Theosophists and had some pretty shady connections. Also tried to connect everything to aliens and UFOs and stuff like that. He was very active in the New Age community. So, yeah, that is a false path for a lot of people. So I'm glad you brought that up. So that is why I don't understand that. Straight away I was like, what? I have never read that in any of the Hermetic texts. So you need to stay away from those texts, like the Thoth, anything where someone's rewritten, and go back to the actual Hermetic texts that have been translated. There's a difference between translating and writing your own book with your own opinions, which is what Maurice Doreel did. So you want the Hermetica, the Corpus Hermetica, the Virgin of the World. That is one of the translations of the Corpus Hermetica. A.E. Waite did quite a few translations of the Corpus Hermetica. And you want the Kabbalion, specifically the Kabbalion in relation to the 7 universal principles of Hermetics. Okay, so they're the main focus. I wouldn't bother about the other parts of Hermetics because that's kind of, you need to understand more deeply in the other areas of the knowledge before you can understand the full Kabbalion. But and I wouldn't want to fill yourself with too much white noise to start with, because you just want to put down your framework. You just want to put down your foundation. So your foundation should be the 7 Hermetic principles. And so go back to the Kabbalion. But yeah, don't worry about the Emerald tablets of Thoth the Atlantean. That is a load of bullshit. All right, well, we've done 2 hours, 30 minutes. Didn't think we were going to go that long today, but we did. But I think I put out a hell of a lot of knowledge today, guys. Hell of a lot of dots connected. Hope that helped you out. Hope you can go and expand on what I have relayed here in this stream. Been great seeing all of you guys join me here. Thank you if you have stayed to the very end. Next week's stream I'm going to do about the Bible and the occulting of knowledge in the Bible, and just basically discuss, how all of the different philosophers and the different texts tell us about how mythology and how knowledge has been encoded and occulted. And so that one is especially for you little modern Christians out there who think that your texts are all just exactly as you got them, thousands of years ago when they were written. And we know for a fact that the Catholic Church has had them for at least 800 to 1,000 years. And I'm pretty sure, the same people that were burning people at the stake and torturing people can't be trusted to not have made a few edits. And so we don't take the parables literally, and we don't actually listen to the clergy anymore because they're all corrupted. All right, guys. Well, look, have a fantastic week. Have a beautiful Easter now that you understand what it is relating to. And hopefully if you've got little ones, you can start by telling them little stories about what the truth of Easter is all about. And you can make little stories up about the symbolism. You don't have to actually talk about the symbolism in the way that I have. You can actually create your own little stories about the symbols and give them the true meaning of Easter and start teaching them about their little souls, because that's what they are. Little innocent souls that deserve to know the truth about who they are, okay? And not to always look outwards about, trying to find out, what life's about and what they're about and who they are. It's all about making them look inwards towards who they really are, and getting them to understand their connection to their Father, God the Father, okay, who loves them dearly. Okay, well, I'm going to start breaking. Every time I start talking about kids, I don't know what it is. I get emotional. Oh, for God's sake. All right. Thanks, guys. Going to leave it here now. As always, have a great week and peace out.